Did a federal judge just hand President Trump a victory in the ongoing war over mail-in ballots? Or is this just a temporary pause before an even bigger showdown? The answer is complex, and the implications for millions of Americans could be profound. Before we dive into the details of this crucial ruling, if you want to stay on top of everything happening in U.S. politics, hit that subscribe button right now and leave a like. It really helps this channel grow and ensures you don't miss out on vital updates like this. So, let's get into it. A federal judge has just declined to block President Trump's executive order concerning mail ballots. This order, signed back on March 31st, directs the Department of Homeland Security to compile a list of all adult U.S. citizens in each state and then instruct the USPS to deliver mail ballots only to individuals appearing on those lists. Democrats and voting rights groups were quick to cry foul, arguing this executive order could disenfranchise millions and that regulating federal elections is the constitutional responsibility of state legislatures and Congress, not the president. The plaintiffs in this case claim the order could even force the USPS to make election rules beyond its statutory authority. They argued that the Constitution clearly grants states, not the president, the power to regulate federal elections. Furthermore, they contended that the Department of Homeland Security's reliance on Social Security Administration data, which they claim is prone to errors, could lead to eligible voters being wrongly excluded and denied their ballots. However, U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols, a Trump appointee, ruled that the plaintiffs' request for an injunction came too early. He stated, and I'm quoting here, "Given that the executive order does not command plaintiffs to do anything, and that no agency has yet acted pursuant to the order in a way that could harm plaintiffs, they have not suffered any harm at present." He continued, "For the foregoing reasons, the court denies plaintiffs' motions for a preliminary injunction." Essentially, the judge said that until the government actually starts implementing this order and causing tangible harm, the case is too speculative to grant an injunction. This doesn't mean the judge ruled on the merits of the Democratic arguments. He explicitly stated that they can renew their motions if and when the federal government begins the process of implementing the executive order. The judge acknowledged that the Postal Service might eventually issue a final rule directly affecting plaintiffs, or that the government might create citizenship lists with omissions. He clearly said, and I'm quoting again, "Plaintiffs may, of course, renew their motions if and when those future actions occur. Until then, however, plaintiffs cannot show that preliminary injunctive relief is warranted." This ruling is a significant development, but it's crucial to understand what it doesn't mean. It does not mean the executive order is deemed constitutional or that the concerns raised by Democrats are unfounded. It simply means that, at this precise moment, the legal challenge is premature. The battle over mail-in voting, a process that has seen increased usage by voters of both major parties, though more commonly by Democrats, is far from over. President Trump has long expressed concerns about mail voting being vulnerable to fraud, a claim disputed by many election officials and experts who point to the rarity of such fraud. So what does this all mean? For now, the executive order stands, at least on paper, without a judicial block. This is undoubtedly a temporary win for the Trump administration, which frames the order as an effort to enforce federal voting laws. However, the door remains wide open for Democrats and voting rights groups to re-engage in the legal fight once the executive order moves from paper to practice. The Department of Homeland Security is required to transmit these citizenship lists to states within 60 days of federal elections, and the order does provide opportunities for individuals and states to correct the lists. This is meant to address concerns about data inaccuracies, but the core of the Democratic argument that the underlying data is flawed and that this process infringes on state authority remains. We've seen Republican senators blast Democrats for what they call fear-mongering over election security, while news outlets are highlighting how the Postal Service is now thrust into this mail-in ballot fight. The central tension here is the perceived power grab versus a commitment to election integrity. The political ramifications are immense, as both parties recognize the significant impact mail-in voting can have on election outcomes. This ruling is a strategic pause, not a resolution, and we can expect both sides to be actively strategizing their next steps. Now, I want to hear from you. This ruling has effectively punted the decision on the legality of Trump's mail-in ballot executive order down the road. Do you believe the president has the authority to issue such an order, or should election regulation remain solely with state legislatures and Congress? Drop your opinion in the comments below. I read every single one. And that's the latest on this developing story. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll continue to break down the critical political developments for you.